Behind the mesmerizing eyes and velvety voice that delivered the unforgettable Smooth Operator lies a tale few have truly understood. The Nigerian-born British songstress, who redefined soul music in the 1980s, didn't just step away from the spotlight, she deliberately chose to vanish from it. The early 1980s British music scene wasn't exactly a hotbed for authentic soul. While synthpop dominated the airwaves and dance floors, numerous white artists dabbled in plastic soul imitations. Groups like Spandau Ballet, ABC, and later iterations of Roxy Music appropriated soul sounds without capturing their essence. Even artists like Phil Collins were covering Motown classics, while Soft Cell and Dexy's Midnight Runners dug through crates of forgotten R&B treasures. The landscape was ripe for something genuine to break through the synthetic veneer. Born Helen Folasade Adu in Nigeria, 1959, her journey began far from the glamour of international stardom. Raised in seaside Essex after her parents' separation when she was just 4 years old, young Sade grew up in the quiet, sleepy town of Clacton. This unlikely backdrop for a future global star shaped her sensibilities in unexpected ways. Without musical influences at home, she turned to pirate radio, particularly Radio Caroline broadcasting from offshore ships, developing a deep appreciation for soulful legends like Donny Hathaway, Bill Withers, Gil Scott-Heron, Ray Charles, and Nina Simone. By her late teens, Clacton offered little opportunity for someone with her creative ambitions. London beckoned in the late 1970s, where she enrolled at prestigious St. Martin's College to study fashion design. Her education in menswear design and part-time modeling career introduced her to London's vibrant cultural scene. While her slicked-back ponytail, gold hoops, red lips, and tight black outfits turned heads in fashion circles, fate had different plans for her artistic expression. Her venture into music began almost by accident. A story of rejection turned opportunity. Initially turned down as a vocalist for London funk band Pride, she was eventually accepted as a backup singer when no better alternatives could be found. This reluctant entry into music would prove to be the first step in an extraordinary journey that nobody, least of all Sade herself, could have predicted. During Pride's energetic funk performances throughout 1981 and 1982, something magical happened when Sade and saxophonist Stuart Matthewman began breaking away for intimate duets. Their stripped-down performances featured moody lighting, soft vocals, and smooth saxophone, creating an atmosphere entirely different from the main band's flashy funk approach. Their rendition of Julie London's Cry Me a River became a highlight, and audiences began to gravitate toward these quieter moments more than Pride's primary set. One of the songs performed during these special segments was an early version of what would become Smooth Operator, a composition that would eventually define an era. The audience reaction was immediate and powerful, signaling that Sade and Matthewman had tapped into something special that deserved to be explored further. When Pride disbanded in early 1983, Sade made her strategic move, forming her eponymous band with Matthewman, keyboardist Andrew Hale, and bassist Paul Spencer Denman. They shared a unified musical vision grounded in classic soul, but with a distinctive approach that embraced imperfection and emotional authenticity rather than technical precision. The road to recognition wasn't smooth. Their two-track demo featuring Your Love is King and Smooth Operator was repeatedly rejected by record labels fixated on electronic sounds dominating charts. A&R executives complained their tracks were too long, too jazzy, and completely out of step with current trends dominated by electronic drums and synthesizers. They were essentially told they were on the wrong side of musical history. Undeterred and believing in their sound, they leveraged Sade's fashion industry connections, orchestrating their own publicity campaign. With influential figures like Robert Elms and designer Jean-Paul Gaultier in her corner, the band created buzz through strategic industry networking. A cover feature in trend-setting magazine The Face established Sade as not just a musician but a cultural icon before her music had even reached the mainstream. The culmination of this self-promotion strategy was a packed showcase at London's Heaven nightclub, attended by every significant music journalist and industry executive in the city. The event was a masterclass in creating demand, 1,000 people queued outside while inside, the band delivered a performance that converted skeptics into believers. Suddenly, the same record companies that had rejected them were desperately competing to sign them. Epic Records secured the deal in October 1983, and the band returned to Power Plant Studios to complete what would become Diamond Life. Working with producer Robin Miller, who had believed in them enough to offer discounted studio time for their demo, they developed a signature sound enhanced by Latin-inspired percussion that would become one of their trademarks. Their musical inexperience proved their greatest strength, fostering a minimalist approach that let every note breathe and every lyric resonate. The band wasn't comprised of virtuosos showing off technical skills. They were storytellers using sound to convey emotion in its purest form. Their simplified arrangements gave space for the most important element to shine through: the message. At the heart of their distinctive sound was Sade's haunting voice, never forceful, yet profoundly moving. She composed most material herself, humming melodies into a tape recorder for the band to interpret. Her songwriting often drew from personal experiences or stories of those close to her. Your Love is King explored sensuality with subtle sophistication, while When Am I Going to Make a Living emerged from her frustration at financial struggles during Pride Days, scribbled on a soggy envelope during a rainy walk from Turnpike Lane tube station. When Diamond Life released, British music press completely misinterpreted its essence. The album cover featuring Sade's glamorous image led critics to pigeonhole tracks like Smooth Operator as anthems for upwardly mobile professionals, the champagne-sipping, stock-trading set of Thatcher's Britain. They labeled the music corporate jazz or sophistopop, missing the emotional depth and social commentary woven throughout the album. This mischaracterization hounded the band for years despite their music's deeper resonance. Their first television appearance on Top of the Pops highlighted their outsider status in the music scene. Dressed in black and refusing to smile amid the colorful electronic pop acts of the day, they looked as though they had landed from Mars. Yet this distinctive image would become their signature and part of their enduring appeal. The group's American strategy proved brilliantly calculated. Understanding the segmented nature of US radio compared to the BBC's more mixed format approach, they made a strategic decision with lasting implications. Rather than leading with Smooth Operator, they first released Hang On to Your Love to black radio stations in November 1984, building credibility with audiences who recognized authentic soul when they heard it. This groundwork ensured they wouldn't be dismissed as a one-hit wonder when Smooth Operator eventually crossed over to mainstream charts. By 1985, they dominated both sides of the Atlantic. Diamond Life earned Best British Album at the Brit Awards, while Smooth Operator conquered American charts and received heavy rotation on the newly launched VH1. They performed at Live Aid's UK venue, the only female-fronted act to grace that historic stage. The album achieved triple platinum status in Britain by the end of 1985, while in America it built a steady following that would reach matching certification a decade later, proving their music had remarkable staying power. Most remarkably, Sade achieved this without playing the publicity game. She largely disappeared from interviews, particularly with British press who seemed more interested in her appearance than her artistry. Journalists rarely asked about her music, instead fixating on her looks, fashion choices, and personal life. Her words were frequently misrepresented, leading to her retreat from media engagement. This vacuum led tabloids to fabricate outlandish stories about secret children and football club purchases, wild fabrications that filled column inches but bore no resemblance to reality. Her deliberate step back from the spotlight wasn't a fading away, but a conscious choice to engage with fame on her own terms. While many artists feared disappearing meant career suicide, Sade understood that absence could create mystique and that quality would always triumph over quantity. This philosophy would guide her career for decades, with long gaps between albums that only enhanced anticipation rather than diminishing relevance. Her influence transcends genres and generations, creating a musical legacy that continues to inspire. Metal artists like Mike Patton and Deftones, R&B visionaries like D'Angelo and Frank Ocean, and contemporary stars from Alicia Keys to The Weeknd and Beyoncé all acknowledge her impact. Her smooth, smoky, emotional approach to music laid groundwork for countless artists who followed, proving that authentic artistic expression resonates far longer than fleeting trends. The mysterious vocalist who sang about a smooth operator became something far more profound. An artist who defined success entirely on her own terms, created music that transcended categorization, and demonstrated that true artistry doesn't require constant visibility to maintain its power and relevance.